People who have came close to dying, what were your last thoughts? Weirdly calmed. Mine went quiet. Everything slowed right the fuck down. Afterwards though, mine screamed. Fuyu car accident 100 km/h 270-degree spin in front of an 18-wheeler, across 2 lanes, down the embankment and slid between 2 concrete drainage pipes. Could have been hit by the truck. Could have rolled. Could have hit the pipes which would have crushed into me. My car accident reaction was similar. I was pretty certain we weren't going to die, but I knew we were going to crash. We were coming off a major route on a wrong exit on a sharp curve at about 40 miles per hour. It was weird in the span of a few seconds having so many rapid thoughts. The speed of comprehension was unbelievable. When we did crash into a giant rock on an island separating the lanes, there for most likely that reason, I couldn't even blink. I saw all the airbags come out, and that's something I'll never forget. Once we jerked to a stop, that is when I panicked too. I'm so glad to hear that you are okay. What was it like for you to drive after that? Nearly was run over in a town square when a car decided to go through it, instead of around it, and went onto the sidewalk. First and only thing to come out of my mouth to my friend next to me before we dove out of the way. Well, that's not good. Was on a road trip with my best friend, middle of the night, middle of nowhere. He was watching a movie on a little shit DVD player, I was going about 90 miles per hour. As I'm passing a semi, his blinkers come on, so I consider falling back to not get merged into, but I'm young and stupid, so I keep on the gas to get out of his way. I'm almost past him when I start to fishtail. Black ice. Let off the gas, hold the wheel straight, and the car is simply no longer in my control. As the car starts to spin, I very calmly turn to my friend, look him in the eyes, and tell him in a conversational tone, "Make sure your seatbelt's fastened, we're about to crash." The signal on the semi was probably his hazards, in retrospect. We luckily just spun out and wound up in the ditch on the far side of the road facing the wrong way, across 4 lanes of traffic in the pitch dark. So lucky. Was traveling on a major highway where I live, at night, in the pouring rain, with my infant daughter in her car seat in the back seat. I was trying to change lanes to get our exit. Visibility was next to zero, but I could definitely see a big fucking tanker truck in the lane beside us, but we were in front of it enough that I was so sure I had plenty of time to get in that lane in front of him. Blinker on, shoulder check, all good, so I start changing lanes. One more quick shoulder check, and fuck me if that goddamn tanker truck wasn't millimeters away from hitting us. While I don't recall saying anything, I can tell you, without a doubt, my life flashed before my eyes. I'm talking hundreds of snapshots of memories, me and a bike I had as a kid, my dad flying a kite with me and my sister, birthdays, funerals, on and on and on, but literally in a split fucking second. I can't explain it, but it happened. I honestly don't know how we avoided impact. I made a quick correction. We missed our exit, and at the next one I got off the highway, parked at a gas station and sat cradling my baby and sobbing. TLDR, almost got smooshed by a semi, life flashed before my eyes. That's a real thing. I was 16 years old. I had my lower right wisdom tooth come in and it broke the tooth next to it. That caused an abscess, which led to an infection in my jawbone. I was taken to the ER by my mother because she thought I had some sort of lockjaw because I couldn't open my mouth, it was so swollen. The doctor told her that I couldn't be treated there, and so I was ambulanced to another hospital an hour away. I remember slipping in and out consciousness, getting prepped for the surgery and having my dad there. The last thing I remember thinking was that I didn't want to go yet. I would make so many people devastated if I died. I remember crying before, and my dad just calmed me down and told me he loved me. I recovered in the hospital for a month, got a visit from my then boyfriend, now husband, missed high school finals of that year, and was discharged on Christmas Eve. I got my wisdom teeth removed, but they had to carve out a bit of jawbone and it abscessed like yours literally overnight. I have had my tonsils removed at 16, dislocated multiple joints, bent my growth plate in half in my wrist, had open ulcers cauterized with sulfuric acid, all while being resistant to opiates. And literally nothing has been as painful as that jaw infection. You're a serious fighter and have my respect. Glad you're still here. Funny, for lack of a better word, story. When I was 10, my family went to Florida on vacation with some other extended family. There was a plan where my parents went back home, a few days before my brother and I, so we could stay longer with my aunt and cousins. It was my first time traveling with just my older brother and my second time on a plane, the first being the trip there. Coming into Logan Airport, our airplane started to fall out of the sky. Quite literally. Apparently it only happened for about 3 to 5 seconds, but the pressure made the oxygen masks fall from the ceiling. I'd seen enough movies at that point to know that basically meant we were going to die. I was for sure crying and freaking out like everyone else on the aircraft, for sure the most frightening experience of my life, bar none. But I distinctly remember thinking, I'm never going to get to finish my Age of Empires 2 campaign. So, a video game was ostensibly my last thought. I had the worst strain of mono currently known: strep throat, double ear infection, upper respiratory flu, lower respiratory flu, a sinus infection, and pink eye. At the same time, they started testing me for a brain tumor before they knew what was wrong in the ER. My vision started fading and I couldn't hear, and the only thing I could think about was that I was going to ruin my parents' siblings, friends, and girlfriends' lives by dying so young and sudden. I didn't want to cause that kind of emotional pain to my loved ones. I thought I wasn't going to be able to say goodbye. I was so dehydrated that my organs were starting to shut down. Had I waited another day to go to the ER, I would have died from total organ failure. My body was making so many white blood cells that my counts were higher than some of the nurses and doctors had ever seen in their professional career. I was administered 3 separate sacks, you could call it, of fluids. They were keeping me alive at the time. They gave me a huge amount of prednisone. Over 200 milligrams doses. I was high as a kite for a week. I don't remember much from that week, but somehow I got home with my parents, lived on smoothies and slept a lot. I even managed to play Apex and win matches, and I don't even remember doing it. They forced me to drink 2 to 3 liters of water a day. I discharged a lot of phlegm. The week passed and the prednisone wiped out my flu and helped my body fight off my mono symptoms. But steroids can make bacterial infections like strep, ear infections, and pink eye feel worse. I couldn't speak for 2 weeks. After the steroids, I was put on an extremely powerful antibiotic and had to stay home for another 3 to 4 days because it completely wiped out the good bacteria in my body. After 3 weeks from visiting the ER, I went back to college. 5 weeks later I finished the semester with a 3.4. Pretty fucking proud of myself. I have something wrong with my health where medications are a hard fucking no for me. ODed on normal dose of albuterol. ODed on normal dose of promethazine. Some other fucked up occurrences I don't care to speak about. But anyway. When I ODed on promethazine, my fever shot through the fucking roof, 105 to 106, and wouldn't go away. I was in and out of consciousness and my wife said I was talking in my sleep a lot. I legitimately, 100%, without a shred of doubt in my mind, thought I was in the middle of a war between us, humans, and fucking elves. I was talking about how we had to split the house with them to prevent another war, etc. My breathing was fucked up, fever wouldn't go away, I couldn't get up, I couldn't actually sleep, nothing. So, my last thoughts were, basically, hopefully the elves are cool splitting the kitchen cause we need to eat still. Really fucked up time. I remember each handful of pills going down so easily. Like simply swallowing a mouthful of food. It surprised me, as I was one who normally struggled to take more than a single pill at a time. I wasn't struggling this time, though. I had downed a cocktail consisting of 6 handfuls of a small mix of medications. It took a moment before anything came to mind. Everything was so quiet, the silence was almost deafening. My mind became foggy. My stomach suddenly queasy. My legs and arms felt so tremendously heavy. Shaky. As I tried to get up, I started to feel my heart beating. It had a change in pace from normal, and was loud, like thunder pulsating in my ears. The first thing I managed to mumble out after fumbling to call my best friend on the phone was, I fucked up. Today marks 4 years since making it out of the psychiatric ward for my attempted overdose. I'm still alive, and it feels good. I was gridlocked in traffic with a wildfire on both sides of my vehicle. I could even touch the window, it was that hot. Our cell tower was knocked out, so I couldn't even tell my family and friends that weren't in the car that I loved them. I sat there and I was oddly peaceful. There was nothing I could do. My whole family was sweating. My little brother was crying. I was 15 and I just sat there and accepted that my life was what it was, and I didn't bother thinking about what I wished I had done differently or what I wanted to accomplish because I didn't matter. I was convinced I would die quietly with my family in a car. I couldn't think. I put my headphones in and played my favorite songs thinking maybe I could die to one of those. When traffic started moving again after a few hours, I could barely stay awake. I remember the first time I showered after the fire. There was soot running down the drain and I just cried. Since then I started telling people I love them. I decided to live for myself. I came out. I worked towards a future. I even sat at my first bonfire this year.
It was horrible.
When I was like 11 years old, I was home alone one day during the summer, just watching TV while eating Skittles. I liked to put a bunch in my mouth and make like a Skittle ball that I would chew on. Something on the show I was watching made me laugh and I swallowed the ball, which got lodged in my throat. I then experienced a few seconds of sheer terror because I realized that there was nobody here to help me at all and I was probably gonna die. Thankfully, I remembered some cartoon or movie where someone jammed their stomach on a chair and got something unstuck from their throat. So, I lunged at the corner of the recliner as hard as I could with my stomach and it actually worked and popped the small ball out. It was super lucky because I really had no idea what I was doing, but one of the worst feelings I have ever experienced. Definitely never ate Skittles that way again after that, and to this day I'm still a bit paranoid about eating certain things when alone. In high school I choked on a hot dog while driving home from work. I slammed on the brakes, jumped out, took a few steps and lunged myself at the side of my truck. The hot dog piece dislodged and ricocheted around the bed. We lived out in the country and this happened on a dirt road miles from anyone. Finish the hot dog, though. 6th grade end-of-year trip, we were at a ropes course park where you rock climb and walked across tall catwalks and the like. I was attached to a relay with a team of my classmates 30 feet below me. I climbed up the pole and chickened out when I got to the top, so I signaled my teacher and she gave me the signal to lean back and I'd be rappelled down. This is why you look before you leap, folks, because those kids were not paying attention and I dropped off that catwalk like I had never been there. As I fell through the air with the ground running up to meet me, I saw this absolutely beautiful, and I mean breathtaking burst of light through the trees in front of me. Something like the sunshine you'd see coming through the leaves of a tree that you're lazing under on a hot summer day. I was so taken by the sight that would have been my last thought, Christ, is that ever before my fellow classmates reefed on that rappel rope and I stopped falling. My mom had just died maybe 6 months prior to this and I was convinced it was her, a guardian angel, whatever you want to call it. Spooky shit. Bye. I'm sorry you had to go through that at such a young age. But geez, where was that? I used to be a high ropes guide and we'd never have let guests lower each other. Sounds like a highway to lawsuit town. Even when I learned to rock climb back in 6th grade we were always being supervised closely while on belay.